At least Rocky wins in the end.
Also, Rocky loses.
Oh, yeah? Well, why is he jumping around all happy?
Because he goes the distance, fool.
He loses the fight, but he wins in life.
Who wants to watch a movie with a message like that?
Well, welcome back to the couch. I'm Dez.
And I'm Jay.
And this is our Rocky review.
Also known as the Wait, Jay hasn't seen what episode?
Coming up next.
Rocky is a 1976 sports drama directed by John G. Avildsen. It was written by and stars Sylvester Stallone, as well as Carl Weathers, Burgess Meredith, Talia Shire, and Burt Young.
It's the rags to riches American dream story of Rocky Balboa, an uneducated but kind-hearted Italian-American boxer working as a debt collector for a loan shark in the slums of Philadelphia. Rocky, a small-time club fighter, gets his shot at the World Heavyweight Championship and makes the most of the opportunity. All right, so we're talking about Rocky today on the couch.
Yes, we are.
And you know what, man? I've been a big boxing enthusiast for quite some time. And I remember when I really first started getting into boxing, just around the boxing circles, if you're a boxing fan, you got to know about Rocky. And I never really knew the story, so I had to go back in time to experience Rocky from step one, from ground zero. And I kind of went on the journey, the whole Rocky Balboa journey, as it grew over time, over the decades. We've got 8 of these films out to date. And yeah, Rocky it's just been great for me to grow up along with. But this is your very first time experiencing this thing.
Yeah, this is my first time ever seeing this, which is strange to say out loud.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I've been meaning to for years. I'm a big Rambo fan. I'm a big Stallone fan. Yeah. How I've never seen any of these Rockies like from start to finish ever. I don't know how that's happened. I went into it knowing pretty much all about it. I mean, I've seen it parodied. You can't go through life and not see something about Rocky. So I went into it knowing the basic story, but there were a few surprises in store for me as well, which I wasn't expecting. Okay, before we even get into the story, I have to mention, because it just made me laugh in a good way, not a laughing at way, but he's walking home after the first bout we see in the movie, and he comes around the corner and there's an a cappella group and they're just singing this do-do-do-do, take it back. And
yeah.
I had that in my head all day.
Yeah.
I could not stop singing that do-do-do-do all day. Did people just stand on the corner and sing in Philadelphia in the 70s? Maybe that happened. I don't know. To me, it seemed more like this is what would have happened to the Doobie Brothers had they never gotten a record contract.
And I'm guessing with enough alcohol, yeah, I'd sing on the corner too.
Take it back, do-do-do-do, take it back like before. I don't call it a reason, I just call it believing in myself. You guys are getting better every year, you know that?
And I love that contrast, because right before that, like you had mentioned, we just seen him in the first fight of this movie, and it didn't necessarily go the way it didn't really go smooth. He ended up getting headbutted and kind of his brain bashed, and he's really ticked off and kind of got shortchanged when it was time to get paid. And then the next scene, you see he's walking around the corner and these guys are just singing, and he just comes and just hangs out with them, says hello, shares a drink with them. There's this whole camaraderie thing with him. Just kind of shows you that Rocky's one of the neighborhood guys, you know?
It's a moment that kind of made me laugh, yeah, but I did like that as well, because it's a character moment. It definitely drives home for the viewer that this guy's just one of the gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because 5 seconds ago, he just got a skull crushed in. Now he's singing songs and everything's A-okay, you know?
And actually, that surprised me. I expected the Rocky character to be a little more of a hero, even with his game with Adrian and stuff. He doesn't really have any game. He's not a loser per se, but he's just kind of a humble, down on his luck sometimes.
Right.
And life is what it is. Life is going to be what it is, and he just goes with the...
He kind of rolls with the punches.
There you go. No pun intended, right?
Yeah.
And that do and whatever helps establish that that's the kind of person he is. So as silly as it may seem, it actually is a useful moment in the film.
Yeah, definitely. He's not necessarily the hero that he comes to save the day per se. He's more of a hero because you get to look at life through his eyes. And, you know, you want to root for him. He's just that likable guy. You're on his side, you know?
He overcomes.
Right.
There's moments in there where he realizes, I'm not doing enough. And so, like with the training, when he runs up the stairs the first time and he can't barely even do it, there's moments in that area of the film where it starts to snap for him. Like, okay, I really I can be better than
I got to
this.
step my game up.
Mickey was right. I can be better than what I am. I just need to put forth the effort. You're there with Rocky, like the first, I don't know, hour is pretty much you're just getting to know Rocky and the people in his life. And it has very little to do with the actual boxing. And I thought that was really cool, more old school storytelling technique there.
Absolutely. That's the strength of this film, is the storytelling. I kind of forgot that there was going to be a big fight until maybe an hour and 15 minutes into it. And then all of a sudden, this is real. This is going to happen. This whole, he's going to take on the greatest champ we've ever seen.
Stallone really just put a lot of work and effort, and it's very apparent on screen here. That was one of the biggest things I noticed. I'm a big Stallone fan, mainly because of his work ethic behind the camera, especially after seeing, highly recommend you and everybody watch the Rambo 4. His whole cast and crew in every interview goes into how much work. Like, if you want to work with Stallone, you better be prepared to work a 12-hour day and nonstop. Like, he keeps you going. So I grew to respect Stallone over the years, but especially after seeing that, it just, my eyes opened to what this man's capable of. And I'm seeing the spark in that creativity and in those talents here in Rocky, and that was really cool to see.
I think this is why Rocky is probably one of his most popular and probably his best character, in my opinion, because Stallone and Rocky are both all heart and guts. And that's what it took to get this movie done. And a lot of Stallone's other films was all heart and guts. Piggybacking off of what you just said, all the behind-the-scenes footage, and when you talk to the cast and crew and how he makes you want to work harder and kind of pulls that out of you, I think he does that to the audience with this character.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had that vibe on the set of Rocky even back then. It's a very character-driven film, which I really liked. So Rocky's a likable character. You want to follow his story.
Yeah, you're rooting for him.
Yeah, you are. Absolutely. There's a small group of characters that we follow in the story, and they're all intriguing in their own right. And they may not have as much screen time as Rocky, but there's a lot of good characters in this film.
Yes, tons of good characters. The dynamic between Rocky, Paulie, and Adrian is really interesting because Paulie is just kind of a jerk. He's just a jerk for the sake of being a jerk. We really don't know what motivates him to be that. I guess that's just who Paulie is. He's just kind of got that butthead mentality to him, And then you got the shy girl that's trying to come out of her shell in Adrian. And then you got the guy that you want to root for. So the dynamic between all three of them was great. Paulie's just kind of a jerk. That scene where he takes the turkey out of the oven and just kind of throws it out and saves the leg, and he's sitting there munching on the leg, and he's just being a jerk to his little kid sister. That's like, this guy, why did you do that?
That was quite a moment, and I felt myself in Stallone's shoes because I think we've all been in an awkward situation like that before where there's a family dynamic going on, you don't want to get involved, but at the same time, I felt like, come on, say something. He just threw her turkey outside, like out the door, literally. Yeah. Now you need to say something, and he didn't. So
and you know what? It's really awkward for Rocky in that moment because Paulie is the one that orchestrated the whole date between him and his sister.
Right.
Because he was trying to use her to get something out of Rocky, basically. He wanted to work for Gazzo, and it's like, hey, I'll give you my sister. That kind of thing. So he's the one that orchestrated the whole thing. Adrian wasn't necessarily on board to begin with it. So Rocky's sitting there in this real awkward position. He's kind of trying to auction off his sister to, not necessarily auction, but he's trying
that's what it feels like.
Pawn off his sister to me. And then he's just being mean to her to get her to go and to get her to actually go through it. He's really using her in that moment, even though there's a couple of points that he made that were probably valid. You're not really going anywhere with your life. You're almost 30, all this stuff. You need to come out of your shell, blah, blah, blah. But really in that moment, what he wants is to get in Rocky's good graces so that Rocky will put in a good word with Gazzo for him.
Yeah, it's not about what he really says it's about.
Yeah.
Maybe it's partially about helping her get out of her shell, but it's mainly selfish, Hey, so I thought we'd take a quick break and talk about our featured friends.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Featured friends are other content creators we enjoy and support.
And we think you'll dig them too.
All right, so let's check out our featured friend.
Imbued with the power of the Odin Force. Ready to drop the Mjolnir on unsuspecting mortals. Make way for the mighty All-Father himself. Are you ready for
Odin's Movie Blog, an entertaining, straightforward channel that brings you box office breakdowns, movie reviews, pop culture commentary, live chats, and group movie nights. So go visit Odin, the critic who's a cynic, and don't forget to tell him those two bald guys sent you.
And we're back!
But Adrian is an interesting character, I thought, too, because again, playing off of my expectations, where I thought Rocky would be more of the ladies' man hero, and he's not that guy. And so I think it's intriguing that he takes that the character and the writing and everything takes it a step further, where he doesn't go after the quote-unquote hot girl on the block or whatever. I mean, she's not unattractive or anything like that, but he's attracted to her, and that's all that matters. And he likes that she's this wallflower. He likes that he wants to help her kind of find herself, I think, in a way. But he's intrigued by her.
Yeah.
And that's totally different than what you see in most of these stories.
He's the average guy that wants
Yeah.
the average girl that works at the pet store across the street. He
Yep.
sees something that maybe not everybody else sees. And I love the moments where he goes home and he's sitting in the mirror and he's practicing a joke that he's going to go and try on Adrian the next day. And he even tells her at one point, I'm going to go home and make up a joke to come and try to tell you tomorrow. Because that's
Yeah.
what I do.
That was good.
There was this one scene in there with Burgess Meredith. It just cracks me up. I just love classic Burgess where, Rocky had just taken the fight and he's starting to train and really starting to get into it. And then there's these two young girls that want to come in and ask for Rocky's autograph.
That's it. Underneath it.
Rock,
What?
how about you give us your autograph?
Get out of here!
Don't you ever interrupt me while I'm conducting business. Move your little chicken ass. Listen, kid, you lay off that pet shop day. Women weaken legs.
That just cracked me up. That's
Yeah.
classic Burgess right there. He was brilliant in this film.
Well, and Mickey, the character, is all business. Like, it's like, nope, we are training. No women, no
Yeah.
drinking, no whatever. It's like, we
Yeah.
are training. He's great to watch. He's a joy. I couldn't help but see the Penguin. But it's not like I don't know Meredith from other things. He's in a couple of my favorite episodes of the old classic Twilight Zone, among other things. So he's fantastic.
Yes, he
always,
is.
yeah, always a joy to watch.
And you know who else was a treat was Carl Weathers. He was brilliant in this film. I thought he was probably Apollo Creed was probably the coolest character in this whole story.
He's my favorite character in the whole thing, and I think if I had any negatives about the characters, it would probably be I would have liked to have seen Creed a little more. So yeah, I just really like. Carl Weathers. I'm a big Carl Weathers fan anyway. No matter what he's on, I tend to like it. Just especially when he's just on screen.
Yeah, that's Action Jackson.
Yeah, exactly. We're going old school on that one.
Yeah.
Carl Weathers is great, but the Apollo character in this film, now remember, I have not seen any other Rocky film all the way through at all. So I only know really Apollo Creed from this film, and so I wanted to see more of him because he's just a great presence on screen as an actor, and then the character itself is, I think, the most intriguing. I would have loved to have more time with that character.
If there is an antagonist in this film, then it's got to be him, but he's kind of he's coming from a weird place. Where he's not necessarily coming from a place of malice.
No, not at all.
I mean, he didn't pick Rocky because he wanted to just bash his face and I can't stand this guy, I hate him. He really just picked him because he thought he had a cool name and it was marketable.
This is what I'm looking for. The Italian Stallion.
Rocky Balboa? Never heard of him.
Look, it's the name, man. The Italian Stallion. The media will eat it up. Apollo Creed meets the Italian Stallion. Sounds like a damn monster movie.
So he had other motivations. He kind of takes his eye off the ball and then realizes he's actually in a real fight with this guy. There's a line in the film, I think his trainer says, this fool thinks he's in a damn fight. I don't know what you think you're in, but that guy thinks we're fighting, so you got to snap out of it and you got to bring your A game,
It's all a big show to Creed. He's got this in the bag. He's not worried about a thing. And then
until it gets real.
And there's a great scene. There's a couple throughout the film, but my favorite that illustrates the opposition or the contrast between Rocky and Creed and their attitudes toward the fight. Rocky's on TV. It's right after Paulie and him have kind of gotten into that brawl where Rocky could have been hitting Paulie. He's showing him, hey, I could be hitting you, but he's hitting in the meat locker.
The carcass, yeah.
Right, he's hitting the carcass in the meat locker. And then Paulie brings that to the attention of the local news, and so then he's on the news and he's showing him this secret training procedure he's got going on. Well, while this is on TV, I just loved you've got one of Creed's team members or his manager or whoever, his trainer. Okay,
he's basically Mickey's.
Oh,
He's
right,
that
okay.
version of Mickey.
Okay, so he's actually paying attention to what's happening on screen, what's Rocky up to, and you got Creed in the background, doesn't care.
How much is being channeled into West Coast closed circuit advertising?
300,000.
450. And send the mayor's wife 200 roses from me and make sure we get a picture of it for all the newspapers.
Hey, champ. You ought to come look at this boy you're gonna fight on TV. Looks like he means business.
Yeah, I mean business too. Hey, Shirley, we got any more coffee out there?
You don't have to spell this out at all. It's just showing you the two men are completely in different places when it comes to this fight, and I thought that was a really well done sequence.
You're right. Two completely different worlds. You got the Apollo Creed world where it's like I've done this a million times and no one's ever stood a chance with me. So this is just going to be another statistic, basically. And Rocky, this is his first opportunity ever. I probably don't even deserve this shot, but I got the shot of a lifetime, and I got to take it serious, that whole thing. So yeah, two completely different dynamics.
And you're right about Creed's reasoning. I thought it was cool that it wasn't malicious. It's more about, I mean, this is the bicentennial year of America's history, so we've got the 200-year anniversary being celebrated at the time. And so there's a air of patriotism throughout this entire film, which I really enjoyed.
Without a ranked contender, what this fight is going to need is a novelty. This is the land of opportunity, right? So Apollo Creed on January 1st gives a local underdog fighter an opportunity. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm sentimental. And a lot of other people in this country are just as sentimental, and there's nothing they'd like better than to see Apollo Creed give a local Philadelphia boy a shot at the greatest title in the world on this country's biggest birthday.
If history proves one thing, American history proves that everybody's got a chance to win. Didn't you guys ever hear of Valley Forge or Bunker Hill?
It's about celebrating how he got there and then continuing that celebration.
And you know what? We don't even really know if he really truly even believes that about America. He just knows he can sell it to the American public.
He understands that about America, whether he believes it or not. He's using the American bicentennial as a veneer, kind of.
Creed really is a great promoter. He knows what he can sell to the American public really well. He makes up catchphrases on the fly.
Be a thinker, not a stinker.
There's a couple funny moments in this film that stick out. I really like just when Rocky was trying to talk to Adrian right after the throwing the turkey out of the house scene. He's trying to talk to her through her bedroom door.
Yo, Adrian, it's me, Rocky. Rocky, you know. Listen, I don't know what to say because I ain't never talked to no door before, you know. I mean, what do I say to a door? Hey, listen,
You're doing fine.
I ain't doing fine. Look like an idiot.
Keep doing what you're doing. Funny.
I feel like a jerk. So, Adrian, you know, it's Rocky again, you know.
Great acting on all three, especially between Stallone and Young in the hallway. There's some great, just quick interactions. It seems very natural. But yeah, that was funny. And I couldn't help but laugh. But how many times must Rocky say, you know?
You know. 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 You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know.
One of the more fun scenes for me was when Mickey comes to see Rocky at his place, and it's right after he learns that Rocky's got a shot at the heavyweight title, and he's kind of, pitch him to let him be his manager, that whole thing.
Right, and Rocky's kind of put off by it because he thinks he's being used now that he's got this opportunity.
There was a whole father-son dynamic element there, I thought. You weren't there for me when I needed you, so now all of a sudden you need me. I didn't have a locker last week, but, all of a sudden I got a shot, so now you want to talk to me. That whole dynamic, that was a real strong character moment, I thought, for Rocky, because you could see his frustration, but ultimately at the end of the day, he really comes to his senses and he realizes, you know what, I don't really have a ton of people in my corner. At least this guy does have some knowledge that could be useful to me at some point during this fight, and he wants to help. So I got to swallow my pride and do what I got to do, because I got a shot at the title here. It's the shot of a lifetime, so I got to take this serious.
That's it. He has to swallow his pride, and I liked that about that interaction, especially when he's yelling at Mickey and Mickey's already left the building and stuff, but he's still yelling. He has to get all that out.
That frustration out, yeah.
And I like how Mickey, he does start to give up and walk away. Finally, he's listening to him. He's trying to let him get it out, and then finally he just goes, you know what? Okay, I'm leaving. But then this is my favorite shot in the film, actually, when Rocky comes running after him. He decides, okay, I got it out. Now it's time to move forward. So he runs down to try and catch up to him. And he runs past the building, and the camera stays static. You don't hear any of the conversation. It's all done through mood and mannerisms and things, but you see them make up, and it just gets noisier and noisier. Like the train just overhead starts to get noisier and noisier, and you don't need to hear anything. The camera doesn't need to move. It's just a beautifully set up shot, and you get everything you need to know out of what you're seeing. A little later, it's right before the main fight with Apollo, and Rocky has gone to the stadium. I think it's the night before, just to kind of soak it all in, and he's there alone. And the camera starts to back out. Between these big wide shots and the ambient white noise growing in volume, you start to feel how isolated and small and insignificant Rocky must be feeling right now, the night before being in this big empty stadium. And I just thought, wow, what a great use of sound design to have this build of just a shh. And that alone makes you feel what he's feeling, along with the visuals, of course. But very well
and
done.
the writing too. The sound design coupled with the actual real fight promoter not really giving a damn that he doesn't really have the pictures accurate.
Rocky, what brings you here tonight?
Mr. Jergens, the poster's wrong.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm wearing white pants with a red stripe.
It doesn't really matter, does it? I'm sure you're gonna give us a great show. Try to get some rest, kid.
It was really successful in making you feel how small Rocky must have felt. And then it was actually confirmed in the very next scene after when he confides in Adrian, who's at home sleeping.
Then we got to talk about the fight. I mean, that's the climactic battle.
Yeah, I know. We finally get to the big heavyweight showdown, and Rocky really doesn't like that his robe is way too baggy.
Oh, right.
So, I guess it kind of shows that the fighter's kind of relaxed and ready to go into the biggest moment of his life. So, I mean, there's that good element. And then you got the ultimate contrast with Apollo Creed, who's way over the top with his whole George Washington get up and throwing out, what was he throwing out? Like dimes, quarters, or
I think it was the bicentennial
coins, whatever it was he was throwing out. Which, I don't know, I guess he's giving the audience members concussions before he gives Rocky a concussion. I don't know what that's going to be, but yeah, it was really interesting. And so we get into the fight, and it looks like Rocky is pretty much outclassed going in, and then all of a sudden he gets in a great punch and puts the champ on the ground, and there's that left from the southpaw, which is a great moment because everyone in every bar in Philly is like, yeah, our guy landed a shot and he's not supposed to have a chance in this fight at all, none whatsoever, because no one's gone the distance with Creed ever, and he knocks him down. So there's this great, huge moment with that. And then he gets up and he starts to kick Rocky's ass.
It's a good fight. It's entertaining, but there are things about it. It could be choreographed a little better.
I agree.
You can tell the punches aren't even landing and things like that.
And a bit over exaggerated. Like he hits you with a left, you shouldn't be going that way.
I did notice that at least once, where he punched Rocky one way and his head,
the same way. Gravity doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and I just thought it ended a bit abruptly. The fight itself.
I completely agree. I think they could have did a better job illustrating that. Illustrating how more dominant Apollo was, or how much higher class that Apollo Creed was above Rocky Balboa. I think they could have did a better job of illustrating that point. Mostly it was just kind of, bad choreography like we had mentioned, but it wasn't really conveying the ebb and flow of the fight itself. During the middle portion of the fight, that's where Apollo did what you expected him to do, which is dominate the entire fight. The only caveat is that even Rocky mentions this before the fight, no one's ever gone the distance for Creed. And if I could just do that, that's basically going to be a victory in and of itself for me.
That's his win. Yeah,
that's his win. Exactly. So, yeah, I think they could have did a better job of illustrating how Rocky kind of just walked through hell to get to that point to where, I survived, and that's kind of what I was in it for.
The ending, I think, of the film is where it kind of gets a little clunky in the storytelling. But overall, I still really enjoyed it.
We both seem to agree that the choreography could have been a little bit better. And what I found interesting is that it shouldn't be a surprise that Sylvester Stallone took on that role of being the boxing choreographer in this film, because he takes on every other hat in every other aspect of this film. So why wouldn't he take that on? And it also shows how brave he is. It's pretty gutsy to go ahead and take a hat on like that when you really don't have any. I couldn't come in and say, we're making a movie about going to Mars, and then all of a sudden I'm going to choreograph how we're going to do the launch.
It's very cool to see him kind of green and being a novice here, knowing where that path leads. So I think we're ready to sum up Rocky. What do you think?
Yes, I think we're ready. Let's do it. Rocky is a really good film. It's the classic underachiever story, given the opportunity of a lifetime and rises to the occasion against insurmountable odds. And that's a testament to the human spirit in and of itself, in my opinion. It's a really great story with really great compelling characters, All around, I really like this film. I think I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 shiny bald heads.
This was my first time seeing Rocky, and I really enjoyed it. It was much more character-driven than I was expecting, which was a nice surprise. I also just love movies from this era, so it was a great mixture of both. So I would say the same for you. If you love character-driven stories, Rocky's for you. You don't need to know anything about boxing to like it. So I would give Rocky 3.5 out of 5 shiny bald heads, but this is one of those films that I think upon further viewings, I could probably give it a higher score, so I'm going to reserve the right to do that. That was our Rocky review. We really hope you enjoyed it.
So join us next time, right here on this couch.
Last time on the couch, we reviewed Willow, so if you missed it, now's a great time to check it out. If you enjoy what we're doing, please hit that like button and subscribe. To receive alerts when new videos are posted, don't forget to hit the bell icon. Thanks, we really appreciate you. Got another one done.
Yeah,
All
another
right.
one in the books, man. Well, I had fun shooting it, but I'm glad we're done. I was holding it that whole time, man. I'm sorry.
Well, then go, man.
I gotta go to the bathroom, bro. I forgot my phone, man. Gotta be a thinker, not a stinker.
Yeah. Wise words of Apollo Creed. Take a crap.